Welcome to this episode of CynSpeaks. In this episode, we're going to talk about muting the ego to move into a space of more heartfelt interactions. So, with the ego, we talk about it a lot. That's my topic for the month. That's the focus of balance, is this ego versus the heart struggle. And moving into a space where you have the ability to mute the ego is so powerful because you then have the ability to connect with the highest versions of yourself. And that can guide you towards a level of peace and intention that is best for you. Thinking about how to mute the ego, the practical application, which is always what I look for, is first off the ability to go into a meditation. And that is really the receptive mode, like the true ability to get into the receptive mode where you're receiving messages. Now, when you're saying a prayer or trying to manifest something, you are sending out messages. But transitioning into that space of receiving messages is not as often talked about. So moving into the space where you are capable of hearing and listening the messages from the universe or God or your higher self, that is power, because your ego is muted and these thoughts that cross your mind from the ego are not in control and they're not driving your every move. So even when you're driving down the street and you move into a space of like, I'm just going to go with the flow. Like, of course, I'm going to drive safely, but I'm going to listen to my intuition for a little bit. I'm going to take a different route, and I just have a feeling that I should take this route, and I'm going to listen. You're in the receptive mode. Even though you didn't go into a meditation, you're still in that receptive mode. So a meditation isn't the only way to get there. It's just a great way to practice getting there and knowing what it feels like to be there. So when you're in a meditation, you pretty much clear out your conscious thought. And anytime I record a podcast, I put my phone down and I don't check social media, and I go into a meditation first so that I come out of it as clear as possible, so that I can give you guys the best message possible from the highest versions of me. And I found that anytime I'm creating something, that if I go into a meditation first, the things that I create are so clear and crisp and solid that they are undoubtedly from the highest versions of me. So when you are creating, especially if you're a creative, you probably already know this space. You probably already know what this feels like in alignment with your practice. So if you are a dancer, you go into this space, like that space between 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 1, when you have to start your movement, you go into that space and you feel, and you're in the space of peace, and your conscious mind is quiet once you've already memorized the steps. If you're still trying to remember the steps, you're still living in that space of ego, and you have to remember the steps so that you don't get them wrong and mess everything up for your team or whatever it may be. But when you have the steps memorized, or you're improvising, you're moving from a space of no ego, and it's beautiful. So there are so many ways to do it. I align with dance because I was a dancer for so long, and that's the world that I know so well. But there are so many other industries that also have that. Sports, like athletes, will go into this right before a game. They'll go into almost a meditation before they move. And it's them just focusing, like really just focusing their mind and muting all those other voices and getting in the zone, as they call it. But it's such a beautiful space. And when I decided to study psychology, that is really the reason why I started to study it, was because I thought that space was so beautiful. That space between getting ready and actually execution that requires you to go deep within, just really just connecting and aligning with your higher self so that you can execute to the best of your ability. that is a beautiful space. So learning how to get into that space, if you're not a dancer or you're not an athlete or you haven't explored yoga and you don't know how to do this, it's really just getting comfortable with the quiet and focusing on your breath. Like, that's the easiest way to put it. If you can focus on your breath, then you can bring yourself back to a foundational piece that allows you to clear your mind. And then from there, just focus on relaxing every muscle in your body. And from there, focus on just letting thoughts pass through and observing your thoughts. Like, that's how you can start out, just through a meditation, a very basic meditation. And the amount of time depends on what time you have, and what time of day depends on what you have. But you'll find what works for you and do that. So just like going into a meditation will help you mute that ego and get into a space of receiving. If you've been praying for something or asking for signs and you're not getting them, try going into a meditation. You're probably getting the signs. You're probably just not noticing them. But if you're not receiving those messages, get into a meditation and see what you see. See what is the first thought that comes to you after you're completely relaxed and you're focusing on your breath and you're just observing the thoughts. You're letting them pass through. What type of thoughts are passing through? What type of things are coming into your mind? Because those might be the signs that you get. Also, if you do this before bed, which I do every night, you might get some really cool dreams, some really vivid dreams that have messages attached too. So there's value in clearing that mind at different parts of your day. And a huge addition to that is just when you're reacting to something, when you're reacting to somebody's words or actions, and maybe your reaction isn't ideal for you, try to separate yourself and go into a quick meditation to see why you reacted that way. You may start to uncover some really deep traumas that you didn't even know existed. If something offends you, it's probably because it's connected to a trauma, and you can go into a meditation to mute your ego and really go deep and try to uncover what that may be so that you can resolve it and move on and never have to deal with it again. So there's so much value in the ability to connect with the higher self, which requires you muting your ego. So try it. Try to meditate. See how it works for you. Regardless of your beliefs, I promise you it will add value to your day, add value to your life. It will allow you to become more patient and explore parts of you that you didn't even know you had within you. I also encourage you to know that all the answers that you seek are already within you. You don't have to go outside of yourself to find the answers. You just have to learn how to connect with yourself to find the answers. It's actually easier to go outside of yourself than it is to connect with yourself. Because when you connect with yourself, stuff gets real. Like, you are looking within yourself. It's not necessarily easy to look in the mirror, but it will be so effective in pushing you forward that it will be worth every second. And I really hope that you take it seriously and take some time to connect with you so that you can really grow. And I really think that it will help you push through whatever it is that may be holding you back right now. Remember that. And remember that there was a point in time where your ego really didn't drive too much. And when we're kids, right? If you look at children, their egos aren't as relevant until they become a little bit older. And that's such a beautiful place. And when you hear people reference like a child's heart, right? Hearts like children, they are heart-driven individuals until the world teaches them not to be. So that is our natural state, is to be heart-driven and to mute this ego and to just do what feels good. So remember that this is not foreign, this is not new. It's really your truest version of yourself that's always been within you that you're just tapping back into. I really hope that feels good. I hope that helps for you. As always, make sure you add me on Instagram at Cynamon Voe, #CynSpeaks, tag the podcast and everything that you post so that I can show love Also, make sure that you check out the YouTube page. We're going to be adding video really soon. I have videos up that are just the podcast audio with a quick image so that you can easily share the podcast info with your friends and family. The episode numbers are the same as the podcast episode numbers, so just remember that. You have that resource as well, whatever is easier for you. And as always, with so much love, I thank you so much for joining and spending time with me today. It means the world to me. This is why I do what I do, to help you and to connect with you. Even on an energetic level, I feel the love, and I'm so thankful that you took the time to listen to the podcast today. Make sure you really, really take this time for you, and you really deserve to go within and start to uncover things and explore that higher version of yourself. You deserve it. Until next time.